Hello and welcome to
A Couple Codes.
My name is Cody.
And my name is Emily.
And we've been coding for 22 weeks with the Odin Project. Today we're going to give you an update on what we did this week. So Em, where are you in the curriculum?
I am 60% of the way through the JavaScript course. So I just finished the testing practice project in the test-driven development section. And then I've moved on to just continue reading more about test-driven development.
All right. Is there anything significant that you learned this week?
I'd say it would be the same thing that I said last week, which is just the significance of practicing writing your own tests. I did have to take a couple days off coding this week to work on our taxes, so I didn't get a lot done, but that testing practice project was pretty helpful.
I know it was a short week, so did you have any challenges?
I think the main challenge is probably just the reading material that I'm working through right now. There are just two articles in particular that have taken me a while to get through just because they contain a lot of new concepts. So the one article is about tape and one article is about mocking. So those have been a little more challenging than I've been used to with the reading assignments, but I'm getting through them. But enough about me. Where are you in the curriculum?
I'm still working on the final JavaScript project and my data structures and algorithms learning strategy.
Okay. And what has been significant that you've learned while completing those?
So with the final JavaScript project, I actually am learning a little bit of what Emily is reading about, and that I did test-driven development backwards, and I learned from that mistake. Specifically, I wrote some factory functions, and then I started writing tests for them after the fact. I got really excited because I was like, I think I'm actually getting the utility of an object-oriented approach for making an application. So then I started making the factory functions, and then I was like, oh wait, man, I should probably write some tests for this too. I essentially started seeing that with one of my factory functions, my test was failing like half of the time for some reason. It was acting really wonky. So then I created a hacky way of getting the test to pass because I thought it had to do with how Jest was executing things. And you can see it in day 89, yesterday's vlog for that specific problem that I overcame. And I knew that something was wrong. I created that solution for it, but then I was thinking about it and I had another function that was exactly the same thing for a different factory function that was passing as expected. And so then I was like, all right, let me take a look at the code that these tests are being written for and make sure that they're one and the same. And they were not. So I actually did kind of force my test to pass instead of actually taking a look at the code and using the test to drive development. So that's the precautionary tale for doing test-driven development backwards. So don't do that.
I feel like if you do it backwards, it's just not test-driven development.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
Test writing development. I don't know
what it is. And what has been challenging for you this week?
Since it's been a while that I've actually done writing tests, I think that was more of a challenge of like thinking about what should I be testing, specifically figuring out what I should be testing. Specifically, it feels kind of silly to write tests for very simple things, but I think that's the entire point, is to make sure that those simple things are working. And as I found out, something that I thought was very simple and that I thought I did correctly was not actually working because I made an error. And so I think that is one of the big points of test-driven development, to question your assumptions and make sure that you're thinking about the requirements of the application of your functions beforehand so that you actually write them to specifications.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point. And that was what I was thinking about when I started this test-driven development section and I was retrospectively looking at the Knights Travails project. There was a while when I was completing that project when I could not figure out what was going wrong, and it ended up being one of these super simple assumptions where I was like, oh, this is like so easy, like there's no way that this is the wrong part, and that ended up being the wrong part. So it's just interesting to think about. If you have tests that cover some of those simple bases, then it's a lot easier and faster to debug.
I think something else to learn from that is how do you not have those simple assumptions, and like how do you not like trap yourself by doing that? And I think the way that you do that is that you do that as a beginner. You make those mistakes and you learn from them. So you do some projects and you learn from those mistakes as they're happening. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for a job. I would think you want to be very thorough with it. But for things like the Odin Project, where you're doing these projects, just try something out if you don't know what to do and see what happens, and then learn from it if it didn't exactly go to your expectations, something like that.
Well, that is all that we have time for today. So thank you for watching, and be sure to hit the like button if you enjoy these updates.
And make sure you subscribe so that next time you can tune into
A Couple Codes.